Today we are drafting a $2 million to first best ball team, and we're doing it from the 10 spot. And this is great because we've drafted like first, second, fourth so far, so we always get a stud running back. Makes it easier to get stud wide receivers after that. But from the 110, we might have to switch up our strategy. Really, after that fourth or fifth pick, things get pretty uncertain in fantasy this year. Something I've been thinking more about is Cooper Kupp with the first overall pick if you don't feel good about any of the running backs, and that's what happens right here. He goes, and now these players start to go. Taylor, McCaffrey, Jefferson, maybe Jamar Chase is like the fifth, and there he goes, the guy that you feel kind of confident in. But other than that, the sixth, the seventh player can be one of a dozen different guys in my opinion. Let's see what my rankings currently have this at. So based on my rankings, I'm going to be looking for either one of these remaining stud running backs in Eckler or Dalvin Cook, or hoping Stephon Diggs makes it to me. But we'll see. We're 3 picks away. Austin Eckler goes. He was kind of that last tier 1 running back. Maybe Dalvin Cook. Najee Harris goes at the 1-7. I recently bumped him down in my rankings. 70 plus receptions last year. Efficiency should increase this year, but just not that many receptions leading the league is something you can rely on with a new quarterback. So now I'm on the clock, and if we're looking at running backs, there's Dalvin Cook there. Wide receiver Stephon Diggs screams out to me as somebody right now that I would like to get to. The rosters we've been going with so far have gone with a running back early because we've been in that first couple of picks of the draft. So getting a wide receiver here feels pretty solid, and I want to get 3 wide receivers with my first 4 picks. So let's see how this one shapes up. So it comes right back around to me again here. We're going to have a little bit of time. We can get an Alvin Kamara, a Leonard Fournette, a Mike Evans. I think Alvin Kamara is the move here. Alvin Kamara is somebody that I really do like. So we go and get Alvin Kamara at the 2-3. He's somebody who just actually recently got into my top 5 running backs this year because it looks like his trial is going to get pushed back. He has to go to court for some things, and that got pushed back to mid-August, and by the time that gets resolved, the season will have started and likely be almost over, so I feel confident that he'll at least get some games in, if not all of them. So I'm 1 pick away right now. My top 15 running backs are gone. It's not the time in the 3rd round to be taking a Zeke or a Jacobs. I don't hate it there if you don't have a running back yet. I end up snagging DJ Moore as my wide receiver too. I love that. This is a guy who has the most receiving yards up until the first 3 years at this point in his career. Wide receivers or quarterbacks are going now, which is good. I don't want one right now. Running backs like Cam Akers, who I don't even think are barely top 20 running backs, are going. So maybe another wide receiver makes it to me. Right now, Amari Cooper is on the board. Michael Thomas, Brandon Cooks is on the board, but I think we might be able to land, and we're going to be able to land here. This is absolutely fantastic. I love how this draft has played out for us. Amari Cooper in the 4th round, who we'll see what happens with this quarterback Deshaun Watson, but at the very least is a wide receiver 1 where his biggest competition is either rookie David Bell or Donovan Peoples-Jones, a former, I think 6th round pick. So this is a nice spot to be at. I have 3 wide receivers, all clear-cut wide receiver 1s who might have 25 to 30% target shares in DJ Moore, Stephon Diggs, and Amari Cooper. And then I get Alvin Kamara, who had a 20% target share last year, led the entire NFL at running backs, and has finished as a top 8 running back or better every single season, only 1 time outside the top 4. So now we're getting to the point in the draft where I have these 3 good receivers. I have a strong running back, and I'm sitting here like, okay, this is the rounds 5 and 6. Maybe you get a second running back. It's kind of the last round to go for another receiver before they drop off. Quarterback starts to come into play if there's an elite guy still on the board. Really depends who's going to be left between quarterback, wide receiver, and running back for what I go with here in the 5th round. If there is a Michael Thomas or ideally a Brandon Cooks, a Darnell Mooney out there in the 5th round, a clear wide receiver 1 for their team, especially Cooks and Mooney, that's somebody who I'll be targeting. We're still 7 picks away. The quarterback position, some of the elite guys have been going. Kyler and Jalen Hurts are really the only guys who are kind of in a tier of can be the quarterback 1 in my opinion that are still on the board. And yeah, I like Josh Jacobs more than a lot of people, probably more than almost everybody you know, but I'm not going to be taking him in the 5th round if some of these other guys are on the board. So I'm 1 pick away. Chris Godwin goes, there goes Travis Etienne, so I can get Michael Thomas or Brandon Cooks or Darnell Mooney. I can get any of these guys. So I'm going to go ahead and get Brandon Cooks. I have Michael Thomas as my wide receiver 17, Brandon Cooks as my wide receiver 18. I think I'm going to have to adjust the rankings because right now, when push comes to shove, I am choosing Brandon Cooks, a guy who has a maybe only 1 out of 5 or 6 guys in the NFL have a chance at a 30% target share, and he's one of those guys. He pushed towards that, having a 50% target share in a game last year alone. I do like that. I mean, Chris Godwin already went. Chris Godwin's not even a top 30 receiver. He might legitimately miss 8 weeks this year. He's nowhere near even running at this point, not even cutting. The team does not feel good about where he's at. He just recently tore his ACL. He's probably going to be back in October, maybe November, if anything goes wrong in the rehab. So yeah, that's a terrible pick at that early in the draft. Whoever did take him, obviously, we're very early at this point. Having a video out exactly the guys you should stay away from. So I'm on the clock again here. I can go get Michael Thomas in the 6th round of drafts right now, or I can get Josh Jacobs. I go Josh Jacobs. And here's the thing. Michael Thomas in the 6th round is as tempting as it gets. As of this point, I don't know the deal on his ankle. I just don't know it. And the other thing is, in these rounds 6 through 10, we'll have a video out on this thanks to the late round QB JJ Zacharyson. These are the rounds where you start to see wide receivers drop off. Now, it's very case specific, but we've only seen 2 top 12 wide receiver finishes since 2010 in round 6 through 12 of these 12-man leagues. So I feel really good about where I'm at. Josh Jacobs is somebody that he is a massive winner from Devontae Adams going there, from this team getting better. I mean, Alvin Kamara and Josh Jacobs as my running backs. I don't have to take another one now until maybe round 10. And then Stephon Diggs, DJ Moore, Amari Cooper, and Brandon Cooks, right? That feels good. That feels really good. Yeah, I could have had Michael Thomas. That's also maybe an option for us in another draft coming up. This feels good. Quarterbacks are going. Not really a fan of Joe Burrow going this early, especially just 2 picks after Kyler and Jalen Hurts. You might as well just wait another 4 or 5 rounds and get Kirk Cousins, right? Or somebody along those lines. Burrow was very efficient last year, didn't have a lot of volume, and doesn't have mobile upside, so it's hard for him to kind of repeat a big season like that, or at least much harder than some other players. And I think this is the benefit of drafting early. If you're using my free rankings, they're down below in the Discord. And by the way, if you want to draft right now on this platform, $2 million to first, it's called underdogfantasy.com. There's a link in the description below. You use the code SAL, you put in 25, you get 50. You put in 50, you get 100. You just get your first bet matched up to $100. So you can do that. You get double your money, 2 extra money. Use the code SAL. There's a link down below. We'll be drafting here all year long. $10 million contest, $2 million to first. The beautiful people at Underdog Fantasy. Check them out. Show them some love. It's going to be a lovely, lovely best ball summer. So I'm getting very close to being on the board again. Maybe now this is starting to look like something of a learning experience, because Miles Sanders is 1 pick away from dropping to the end of round 7, maybe even a round 8 pick. So maybe I could have went Michael Thomas and then just got a Miles Sanders instead of a Josh Jacobs. More receivers are going. My best available wide receiver right now is Garrett Wilson. I think he'll be there at my next pick. A guy I don't think will be there at my next pick is indeed Miles Sanders. So I'm going to grab Miles Sanders right here. He's somebody that I'm coming around on. I put out a thread about how he is in a very good situation in terms of he's been efficient. He's in an offense that wants to run the ball, but Jalen Hurts is there. They have another guy there in Kenny Gainwell who's been effective. Boston Scott's still in that backfield, earning 20 to 30% of the snaps. That said, that was as if he was a 5th or 6th round pick. The more and more that he falls to the end of the 7th and 8th round, the more and more that I want to be drafting Miles Sanders. So in these rounds where wide receivers don't pop off as much, in these rounds 6 and 7, I'll grab these running backs who have a better chance. Now we're in round 8 here, and this isn't a cut and dry strategy. I'm just not going to not take any wide receivers in these 5 rounds if there's no good running backs or no good quarterbacks on the board. There's tight ends that all kind of look the same at this point. So it is wide receiver that I want to go to. Garrett Wilson, my best available, and then Russell Gage. It looks like Garrett Wilson probably won't make it back around to me, or Russell Gage. I'm going to go out here and I'm going to say, you know what? Let's do this. Let's grab Russell Gage over Garrett Wilson. So they're very close for me in my rankings. As you can see right here, I currently have Garrett Wilson, wide receiver 31, Elijah Moore 32, and then Russell Gage 36. I think Russell Gage is only going to rise during the summer as the Chris Godwin outlook likely gets worse and worse for him, missing a month, maybe 2 months of the season if things don't go perfectly. So as of this point right now, I'll take a guy who was a top 20 efficient receiver last year in Russell Gage and has been great in his time in the NFL, just kind of a third option in offenses, who right now is going to be the number 2 receiver to start the year for Tom Brady, who led the league in passing with like 5,316. That is legitimately a guess, not a guess, but like somewhat educated from looking at stats. That could be right. I think it's over 5,000 yards. Either way, that is very impressive, and that is a very good spot. Now, the counter to that is that if Zach Wilson takes this massive leap forward, top 10 pick, Garrett Wilson comes in and he's the wide receiver 1, you're looking at a guy who can be a top 20, maybe even a top 15 wide receiver right away, when I think Russell Gage is pretty clearly not going to touch that top 10 metric. I mean, maybe he finishes top 20 depending on touchdowns. So you might suffer a little bit of a ceiling there with a Garrett Wilson, which is maybe a mistake at this point in the draft in the 8th round. But that said, I do think in the Tampa Bay offense, any wide receiver is going to have a ceiling if they are going to be somebody who's out there and a productive guy in the past. And I'm actually pretty shocked right now, but we're in round 9, or the end of round 9, the 9-10 right now, and somehow Dallas Goedert is on the board. I wasn't even going to take a tight end at this point, but a top 5 tight end for me. Yes, Dallas Goedert, a top 5, I mean, maybe 6, depending on where we end up at the end of the year. This is somebody that I really want. A guy who is clearly the favorite option. I mean, Devonta Smith had like an extra half a target per game, but a favorite option in terms of how many routes he ran last year for Jalen Hurts on some of the intermediate to short stuff. So Dallas Goedert securing who I think can be easily a top 5 tight end this year in the 10th round of drafts. That feels really good. I mean, there was, I don't even know, guys that were so far. Dawson Knox went ahead of him. Dawson Knox. I mean, OJ Howard was just signed there. It's only $4 million, but that's not nothing for a backup tight end, top 25 tight end money. I mean, yeah, this is the Dallas Goedert show. Zach Ertz shipped out last year. And man, oh man, everything is just falling to me at this point. Yes, I know there is some stuff, and we'll see in a couple of weeks what happens with Deshaun Watson. I am taking Deshaun Watson here in the 10th round. In the 10th 11th round, if he ends up missing 4 to 6 games this year, that's fine. I'll go get a quarterback in round 15 or 16. And not only do I have Deshaun Watson now, I have him paired up with by far his number 1 wide receiver, as we zoom in on the bottom of the screen here, in Amari Cooper. So I secure a stack there. Worst case scenario, Deshaun Watson, I mean, maybe he misses the whole year. If so, it's only a 10th round pick. But let's say realistically he misses 4 or 6 weeks. Okay, then for the final 8 games of the year, 10 games of the year, I have Deshaun Watson as my quarterback, and I just have to kind of get by for the first couple of weeks. So this is what the board is currently looking like. I'm 10 picks away from like my round 11 pick. Running back, there's still some nice options here. A lot of rookies: Rashad White, Damian Pierce, Tyler Algier. This is my rankings, by the way. They're free right now. If you want to get them in Discord down below, you can use these. Alexander Madison. So there's some options down here. I probably only need one more running back. Jacoby Myers, by far my best wide receiver left. I'll probably snag him if he's still there. After that, you get some rookies: David Bell. You get Jamison Crowder, likely to be the starting slot receiver at least to start the year, right? Didn't sign a massive contract, like $3 million, but he's 3 years younger than when Cole Beasley was there, putting up top 30 wide receiver finishes almost every year. Landry's on here as well. So there's a lot of options. Josh Palmer likely goes into 3 wide receiver sets after starting over Jalen Guyton to end the year last year. And then you start to get to your upside wide receivers that are probably going to be there in like rounds 14. I mean, I'm talking Jalen Tolbert, DJ Shark, who, yeah, Jared Goff isn't the best for downfield passing, but he likely starts right away with Jameson Williams' ACL injury. Guys who are going to be wide receivers 2s for their offense, most likely, like Robbie Anderson. Just people hate him from last year, always letting them down, even though he's still going to be out there running deep routes. Alec Pierce, who was a 2nd round pick taken by the Colts, and he has Matt Ryan, who Matt Ryan receiving options every year finishes top 40 options. He's going to be off the board as like a wide receiver 70. I was holding my breath that Jacoby Myers wouldn't get sniped here. So Jacoby Myers is somebody for me that I'd rather have him over like 15 receivers that just got drafted. Wide receiver 1 in his offense, low A-dot targets, involved in the red zone, even though it hasn't translated. One of the more unlucky receivers last year. So I get Jacoby Myers here. Another potential wide receiver 1. Yeah, Devontae Parker's out there, but to start the year with the chemistry that he has in this offense, gonna be a wide receiver 1 on some of the slot and underneath stuff that Mac Jones likes. Another wide receiver 1 secured at the end of the 12th round or the end of the 11th round. We love that. And the thing I'm thinking about at this point is if Watson does miss like 6 weeks, I don't want to just have, I don't know, Carson Wentz being my quarterback. I want somebody with upside. So I'm gonna pick away right now. Alexander Madison goes. He was the only running back I was looking at. I think I'm gonna go Justin Fields if he doesn't get snagged here. Jeffrey Lee has a quarterback, so I think that he's probably not going to secure him. I think that Gator Heels probably wants a quarterback right here, and unfortunately, I'm going to take Justin Fields, who to me is the highest upside quarterback on the board right now. Crowder goes, who is a guy I was looking at, so I'm going to go ahead and just snag Justin Fields. I mean, obviously the mobile upside puts Justin Fields in this category of quarterbacks that was remaining, and I'll show you who was left. This is what was left at quarterback before that pick. I mean, Trevor Lawrence can make a jump, sure. The mobile upside, not as much there. Same thing for Jameis Winston, maybe 10, 15 rushing yards a game. The only other guy who shows insane upside like a Justin Fields to me is a Daniel Jones. He has the mobile upside. He has a better offense, a better offensive line this year. So that's the only other guy I could have went to. And he actually has a good organization with all the Bills guys there, Bills head coach, Bills general manager there, compared to Justin Fields, who got no help this offseason from his organization. So I guess that's one thing where you could have said, hey, maybe you go with Daniel Jones, and maybe I still do. Maybe I go 3 quarterbacks because of the way that I'm drafting this one. So we're in round 13 right now, and I have 2 quarterbacks, a tight end, 3 running backs, and 6 receivers. I'm at the point now where I need to get like at least 1 and likely 2 wide receivers here to get some solid depth before we start to get to the final couple of rounds. And I'm looking at the board and getting excited because I just realized my highest ranked wide receiver left as of right now is this man right here, rookie David Bell in Cleveland. And if you've been paying attention, I have Deshaun Watson and Amari Cooper, which would be a massive Cleveland stack that we can secure late, with who David Bell only has to compete with Donovan Peoples-Jones. And other than Donovan Peoples-Jones, he's going to be in 3 wide receiver sets with Deshaun Watson for likely a good portion of the season. Please do not snipe me. The guys ahead of me each have 5 receivers. They can use one. This dude's got 5 running back Gator Heels. Shout out Gator Heels if you're from Twitter. I posted the link there and in Discord. No! Oh my God. Of all the guys, I have to make a pick here, by the way. Of all the guys that could have gone, I'm going to go ahead and draft Josh Palmer. David Bell, who I have basically like 7 spots better than anybody else. Josh Palmer, that guy. David Bell goes 1 pick before me. There is the first major, not even snipe because he was like the best wide receiver. So that's not really sniping me. Like it was just hoping he wouldn't take him. But there you go. First time this year that I get heartbroken in a draft trying to secure the Deshaun Watson, Amari Cooper, David Bell stack in the end of round 13. You got me. And this is just poetic at this point. I was about to snag Jalen Tolbert. I'll say, hey, I'll get the Cowboys rookie wide receiver instead, who's going to start because Gallup's going to miss like half the year, maybe even more. And no, Jalen Tolbert goes legitimately the pick before me. So this is absolutely heartbreaking. I'm at a point in the draft right now where I just need to make a decision on a wide receiver. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to snag AJ Green, who doesn't seem like the sexiest option. AJ Green, who's like 34 years old. Normally I don't like doing that, but Hopkins is out, suspended to start the year. There's no Christian Kirk out there. They just traded for a new receiver in Hollywood Brown, who, yeah, has chemistry with Mr. Kyler Murray from college. But other than that, it's AJ Green definitely starting and running 30 to 40 routes a game in an offense that likes to pass the ball and pass the ball a lot. And oh yeah, without Hopkins out there, he's going to be the #1 red zone target right up there with Zach Ertz. I know that there'll be a lot more drafts, but I'm salty. I'm salty on David Bell and I'm salty on Tolbert. If I get those two guys, David Bell and Tolbert, over Joshua Palmer and AJ Green, so much more upside. The stack, that Cowboys #2 receiver maybe. Oh, I'm going to be heartbroken for like another day. So I'm like 6 picks away from the round 15 pick. I got to get at least one more running back, but there's a lot of guys left here. I mean, JD McKissick has a role in his offense. Marlon Mack might be the starter out there. Some guys I like even more that are down here, like Hassan Haskins, Derrick Henry's primary backup, drafted this year out of Michigan. Big, strong guy, really fits that offense if Henry were to get injured. And then for wide receivers, Marvin Jones played every game last year. He's an older receiver, but should start out there. Had good chemistry as well, led the team in target share with Zay Jones coming in, Christian Kirk. Probably Kirk goes in the slot. Opposite outside will be Zay Jones. So I do think Marvin Jones still has a job. Julio Jones without a team, but we'll see where he signs. If he signs with Tampa, well, this is a great value in the 15th or 16th round. And there is Zay Jones. There's Wan'Dale Robinson. I'm a sucker for Sterling Shepard. Never gets any respect. Whenever he's healthy, he's garnering targets out of the slot left and right from one Daniel Jones. And then there's 2 tight ends in Gerald Everett and Noah Fant. You can see right here my queued up players that I do indeed like those guys. So maybe I'll take one of them with my 16th round pick if they come back around and just let everyone last there. I like Everett more than Font, but both of them are solid options. So Matt Ryan goes, I'm on the clock at this point. I kind of want to just shoot for upside, and like taking Marvin Jones at this point isn't really shooting for that much upside. I'm going to go ahead and take Wan'Dale Robinson, a 2nd round pick for the Giants. Who knows what's happening with Kadarius Toney right now? So we get Wan'Dale Robinson. He's kind of more of the flashier upside pick, was massively productive in college at Kentucky. He's the upside pick over like a Sterling Shepard, who's kind of been that guy, always injured out there, but productive. Maybe we snag both of them. But let's see. Noah Fant goes, so I'm going to pick away. I'm going to secure Gerald Everett. Jeffrey Lee has 2 tight ends, so I feel confident Everett falls to me, and he does at this point. So I'll take Gerald Everett. That secures our tight ends. I didn't even check the bye week, so hopefully we don't get screwed there. We got lucky. You can't see, you kind of can. Yeah, week 7 bye for Goddard, week 8 bye for Everett. Everett who joins the Chargers, and Justin Herbert has only fueled top 15 tight ends in his first 2 years, both Hunter Henry and Jared Cook. I would put Everett as just as, if not more athletic than those guys. So I have 2 picks left. The idea here is going to be to secure a running back, who Haskins is like my favorite guy left, and then secure a receiver. I don't know if it'll be a Sterling Shepard. We'll see what's left at receiver. You can see right now on the board if I go to my rankings. There's guys who have upside. Paris Campbell might be the wide receiver too if he's finally healthy in that offense. But if I'm being honest, I really like this team. We get multiple mobile quarterbacks who have upside. Both these guys can finish as top 10 quarterbacks just because of what they can do on their legs alone, especially if Watson doesn't get a crazy suspension. I like that. The running backs I'm fine with. I'm fine with Alvin Kamara, Josh Jacobs, and Miles Sanders, who I expect all these guys to basically go top 24 running backs. Kamara a chance to be RB1 like he was 2 years ago. We'll snag another running back to close this draft out. And then we get a bunch of wide receiver ones. Stephon Diggs, DJ Moore, Amari Cooper, the stack with Watson, Brendan Cooks, Russell Gage. Russell Gage was the pick that we took over Garrett Wilson. I kind of am regretting that right now. More upside in a Garrett Wilson, but also more downside with that Jets offense. I know there's high hopes for the Jets, but let's be honest. Tom Brady is way more stable in Tampa Bay than Zach Wilson this year. Jacoby Myers, we got in a nice spot. Then we got sniped on both David Bell and Jalen Tolbert. That was a turning point in the draft because I got Palmer and AJ Green, who I don't hate, but I don't love. And we get Wan'Dale Robinson. Tight ends are fantastic. Somehow getting Dallas Goedert in like the 10th round, Gerald Everett to take him later with the 183rd pick. 2 guys who are top 12 tight ends for me. I feel good about that. We'll close up this draft with a running back and a wide receiver. I appreciate you guys tuning in. If you want to draft for $2 million to first place on Underdog, use the code SAL on UnderdogFantasy.com. There'll be a link in the description. You can draft with me as well. And if you need rankings, there's free rankings linked down below as well. You can grab those. So thank you for tuning in. I'll see all you beautiful people in the next one.